Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert with The Ted Show. We are back with Marvin Snyder. Marvin is Vice President, I'm going to do it the right way, Vice President of Advancements at Bishop Moore. And we are here today to talk about a lot of things, community involvement, what's going on with the education system from his perspective. And of course, I love this, having light, we pass it on to others. So I want to talk about that. So welcome to the show, Marvin.
Thanks so much for having me, Ted. It's a real pleasure to be here with you and your audience here in Central Florida. It's a great opportunity to share with one another.
And I agree. And we have to give a shout out, of course, to Sarah Luter, Sarah Edwards, as I know her. But Sarah, we went to college together, and she is working with Bishop Moore and suggested you come on. I'm like, yes, I've never had anybody from Bishop Moore come on the show. So I'd love to hear your perspective. So give them a little a background on you. Everybody loves origin stories. So tell them a little bit about your journey.
Sure, thanks. Yeah, we're real pleased to have Sarah working with us. She came to us 2 years ago, and as you said, she's a great light to any team. But my journey, I started out many years ago in the world of higher education. I actually have my master's degree from Florida State and worked in college for a handful of years before getting into the K-12 sector. So I started my career as a teacher, as an educator, and about 7 years ago, the president of Bishop Moore came to me and said, "Hey, I want you to try something new." And being the risk taker that I am, which my friends who know me very well will go, "You're really not a risk taker." But I took the leap of faith. I took the risk, and he said, "I want you to come and do this job called development." And that's the term as it was at the time. And now it's called advancement. And here I am 7 years later as the Vice President of Advancement at Bishop Moore, the largest private school and only Catholic school in Central Florida.
What is the Vice President of Advancement do? I'm fascinated. I love that word. Any kind of word that has a positive spin on it is good by me. But what does that actually mean? What does that entail?
I'm still trying to figure it out. No, just kidding.
That is an honest answer right there.
Yeah. So the nice thing is, if you think about what high schools have done, especially private high schools and a lot of Catholic high schools, around the country, what they've done is they've taken a college model. And if you think about going back to college, you have a president. The president oversees a lot of the business operations of the school. And then the provost takes care of the academic side of things. So if you look at it at a high school level, the principal takes care of the day-to-day like a provost, and the president does what the president does. And so if you think about advancement at the college level, we essentially handle anything non-academic. So fundraising being the key component, special events, alumni relations, marketing, communications, social media, all of those things that don't necessarily fall into the day-to-day of the students in the classroom. That a lot of it falls to the president's office, and then by default, a lot of those functions are carried out by myself and my team.
So how did it go when all of a sudden we had to cease operations physically at the school? What was that like for you guys?
Well, thankfully for us, we had a little bit of time to work out the plan, because the closing of the schools happened as we were going on spring break. So we had our spring break plan. I think it was like March 13th, March 14th. Yep. And so we were on spring break. We had a week to really dive in and get together as a team and plan what things would look like. Again, we didn't know for how long it would last or how long it has lasted, but we were able to get into planning mode. And so we had that week of spring break followed by another week of break for the students, and the faculty went to work that second week. So planning as it would happen really helped us out, having that little bit of time out. And I think we've adapted as well as we possibly could. I mean, every day there's new challenges, but I think by and large, we're delivering the best we can. What's really helped us is, I would say it was probably about 5 years ago, we did away with textbooks. People are like, "Oh, you did away with textbooks." Yeah, we moved everything to a digital platform. So all of our learning was taking place on an iPad, and we had done a lot of digital learning that way, obviously face to face. But having the academic resources already loaded on a digital device, I think really has helped us out. And our faculty were adept in using, all kinds of different programs out there to deliver the curriculum. So I'm not saying it's perfect, but I think going to that format, having all the, the textbooks and resources online digitally really helped us out.
What do you think the biggest, absolutely, you were ahead of the game, for sure, at least as much as you could be, when it sort of all started to come to fruition that we were all going to be shut down or sequestered or quarantined, whatever your favorite word is. But tell me about what some of the initial challenges were for the kids. I heard a lot. My wife is a private school teacher. Mm-hmm. So I think the biggest thing that I heard from parents who, obviously this is for a lot of them, the very first time that they were super that involved on a daily basis, to the extent that they had to be, especially in the beginning. So I can tell you some of the challenges she had. What are some of the challenges that you saw from the kids' perspective?
Well, I think the number one challenge is, going to school, it's a human interaction. And so that lack of face-to-face, constant delivery of content from a faculty member or learning from that peer next to you, right? I mean, a lot of what we learn happens from those folks that aren't necessarily the teacher in front of the classroom, but it's that student that's working with us on a project. And so that lack of human interaction really, I think, has been the biggest obstacle. I mean, we can Zoom all we want. I mean, talking to you on a Zoom is great, but can you imagine the type of conversation and the type of, being able to read body language and those sort of things that you don't necessarily get to see? I mean, we see a little bit of it, but, being in the presence of someone, I think it's that human interaction. I think that's definitely been the biggest challenge.
It's hard too, because it wasn't just the classroom that they lost the outside activities, the extracurriculars, the things that were bringing them the most joy in the world. And then all of a sudden they were with their families 24/7 and not getting that interaction. I think from some of the parents I heard, especially, that they really did miss their teachers. They missed their friends. They miss those activities, and it's very hard to get that. Oh, that sounds like my house.
Sorry.
It's okay. I had to shut my door. I would have heard the exact same thing. But I think that they missed that so much. So I love the fact that we've been able to find ways. Are you all, what's the education like now? You guys are basically finishing up. I think Stacy's last week is this week for their school. But what are you guys seeing now? The progression? Do you think people have adapted? Do you feel like people are in a good place? I know we're opening up, but what do you feel like the students are thinking towards now that it's the end of the school year?
Yeah, I think, like fine wine, things get better with time. I think we've, developed in the beginning, we weren't sure how long this was going to last. And then once the announcement was made that this was going to last for the remainder of the school year, I think you saw a lot of teachers really dive into finding ways to make those classes more meaningful. And so I think to the best of their ability, I think students are getting out of it as much as they possibly can without that lack of human interaction. To your point, I mean, that the thing that we can't replace is, the drama productions, the athletic teams, the student organizations that meet regularly. I mean, we can try to have digital meetings and we can engage, which we have done. We have some time built into our schedule at Bishop Moore for some of these small groups to meet and interact. But that's really the hard part. I think it's that those things that can't be duplicated virtually. I mean, we try and we'll keep trying. But I think that by and large, people are appreciative of the efforts. They realize that maybe the craft of education isn't as simple as they once thought it was. I think there's a greater appreciation for teachers and what they go through. And I have a even greater appreciation for our administration because, if you think you're experiencing it, the good, the bad, and the ugly, they're hearing it, the good, the bad, and the ugly and unfortunately they hear more bad than they do good. So, I think it's great right now that anybody who has a positive experience and whose child is having as positive an experience as they can to reach out and really let the administration know we appreciate, what you've been doing and what you're going through. I think that maybe by the time all this is said and through, there might be a little bit more compassion for those that are, in positions of leadership and those teachers in the classrooms than maybe we once had before.
Well, that's the one thing. I think the teachers get forgotten sometimes, not by the administrators, but in general in the picture when the news is talking about it. It really impacts the psyche of the teacher too, because the teacher loves their kids. They love what they do. They love that interaction, and they're also socially involved with them. They're in the classroom with them all day long. And so I think that that the news in general tends to forget that the teachers are also feeling it. Most teachers I've spoken to don't like, they want to be in the same room as their students. They miss that interaction.
Yeah, I don't know many teachers, or haven't met too many people over the course of my career in education that said, "Hey, I want to go teach for Florida Virtual School." Most of the ones I've met that do that look at that as an added source of income for themselves. Right. That to get into the profession of teaching is to stand in front of a classroom or be working side by side on projects. It's that being able to see that look on a student's face when they've solved a problem or discovered something new. It's those sidebar conversations that you have with the colleague next door. It's the student in your club that comes to you and tells you that they're considering pursuing a career in X, Y, or Z because of something that they've come across and working with you. Yeah, it all comes back to that human element, and it's really hard to duplicate that in a digital format.
Agreed.
And that's why I give so much credit to the teachers. They're having to totally adapt, their normal delivery of content. If you think back, most teachers probably didn't take an online class. And if they did take an online class, it certainly wasn't delivered with all the bells and whistles that we now have, via Zoom,
right.
And, Microsoft Teams and all, Google Classrooms. I mean, we didn't have that. And I'm not that old, but, when we did teacher education, none of those platforms existed. Our means of online learning was, we'll email you out some assignments and you need to answer some questions in a group chat. And that was considered your digital learning.
That was it.
Right. I mean, and now it's so much different. It's so much more than that. And so, again, the teachers are having to learn new tools, new tricks to the trade. And I really applaud them for every effort that they've made. And I think that, on the backside of this, I can only imagine what the classroom instruction, once we do get back to in-person classroom instruction, what it'll look like. I think that this is really opening up a whole, greater horizons, greater opportunities for those classroom teachers, and allowing them to be re-engaged, to be reinvigorated, yes. Discover a new passion. I mean, I hope your wife is seeing some, through her teaching. I'm sure she's got some new passions. She's got some new light bulbs went off.
The creativity, like anything with COVID, I think that you can focus on the lack or you can focus on the abundance. And so on the education side, you all definitely had to scramble. And I think every educator, no matter what level, did an amazing job getting that all together in really a relatively very short time. So kudos to all of you out there. But she definitely sees it as opportunity. There's different ways to engage. Some of the students that were not as engaging in the classroom are much more engaging when everything is digital and virtual. And so, you're examining your kids and how they learn. We have a very basic way of, and each teacher is different, but you have a basic way of teaching and a traditional way of consuming that education. And I think that this has opened up a lot of opportunities for kids to go, hey, I kind of like this way and I'm doing better. And it's opened up big opportunities for the school, which brings me to my next question. What do you think fall 2020 is going to look like?
Gosh, I mean, that's like asking me to be a soothsayer and look into a crystal ball. I don't know.
I had a lot of people ask it already before we went live.
I don't know. I think a lot of it's going to depend on, let's put it this way. I think a lot of it is out of the hands of people like myself, and it's out of the hands of our school principal and our school presidents. These decisions are going to be made by the superintendents of the school district, by the governor of the state of Florida. And so this is going to sound bad, but I don't put a lot of time into thinking about that. because I can't control that. What I can control is, the connectivity that I have with the people that are in our community right now. I can be as good an employee as I possibly can for our principal and our president. Focus on the good, not the bad. So I think that the things that we can control, I think there's going to be an emphasis on cleanliness, of the schools, number of students in a classroom, those type of things, I think are going to be heightened everywhere you go. But I don't know that at the school level, we're going to be able to make those decisions on what things look like. I think those are going to be made by the people who have access to all the research, and I'm sure a lot of involvement from boards and attorneys and all those folks that are going to make those decisions for us. And I don't say that in jest, but those people have, they're in a better position to make that decision.
Well, it's gonna be a new world. It's just I think that people want to go back to a normal, but I'm not sure that normal is ever coming back in that particular way. But I feel like as a whole, the education world has done an amazing job. So I can't say enough kudos to all of you. I just think that was a big thing, a big moving boat that had been moving in that direction for a very long time. To have to reposition it and steer it in a new direction was really big of you all. So big kudos to all of you. All right, I want to talk about Bishop Moore and talk about community involvement. You guys are really active in the community. Can you talk about why that's important? I mean, we hear about schools being active in the community, but I feel like you all, when you see anything social media wise, and this could be kudos to Sarah or whomever's on the team, but I feel like you all really do reach out into the community, and you have become an integral part of the community.
Well, thank you so much for saying that. We really appreciate that. It's been an effort to make, to get ourselves out there, because I think by and large, sometimes you can become too modest and not share the good work and the good deeds because you don't want to seem like you're bragging. But there's great stories out there, and I think it comes from our faith. I mean, being a faith-based institution, it's a part of who we are and our identity as an arm of the Catholic Church is to go out into the world and do good and help others, and especially help others that are less fortunate than we are. And that's what our students do, our faculty do, our alumni do on a regular basis. And so again, our role at the school is to share that news, whether it be through social media or share it through print, or when we're having gatherings of like-minded folks to share those stories. And so that really is at the heart of who we are, is going out and taking what we've learned after we've been at a school for 4 years, and hopefully those morals, those deep-seated convictions that we hold, that you can take and live them out. And that's what it's about. It's about doing good, or to borrow from my tagline, it's about having light and passing it on to others.
Well, so I love that. So let's talk about that. That's part of, where does that tagline come from? Is that part of Bishop Moore?
No, so I'm borrowing, and it's copyrighted by, not by me, but so I went to a small private liberal arts college in Springfield, Ohio, called Wittenberg University. A little bit of free advertising for them right now. But our school motto was having light we passed on to others. And as one of our traditions as seniors is there's a seal in the middle of the campus. And when we marched to graduation, which was always held outside unless it was snowing or raining, you stepped on the seal. Until your graduation day, you didn't step on that seal. And it was a reminder to take a look down on what you were stepping on. And the phrase "having light we passed on to others," many people probably look past it, but it really, even though Wittenberg's a Lutheran institution, it holds true in any faith, and especially my own Catholic faith, is that light is any sort of knowledge, any sort of goodness, any sort of positivity that you possess. You have a responsibility to pass it on to other people, because you can be that light in the darkness for other folks. You just don't know what situation people are in the world. If they're having a bad day, I mean, trying to pick them up and lend a little bit of goodness can really, really go a long way. So, it's something that I've taken into account. I've given a couple of speeches over the years to different organizations, and I always try to find a way to weave it in, because I think it's a simple phrase, but there's a lot, if you dig deep into it, there's just so much to it. And again, having light we passed on to others, anything, your show. the different speakers that you have on, the topics you cover. I mean, you're passing on light to other people. And I think that's some of our greatest responsibility that we have here in our civic society, is choosing to focus on good, recognizing that that things aren't perfect. But if we focus on commonality, if we focus on likeness, if we focus on moving in a good general direction, then gosh, society, life in general is so much less stressful. We're so much happier. And I don't know anybody that doesn't want to live a happier, healthier life.
I agree. I think the collaborative spirit that you're talking about, if we work more together toward the same common light, with the same common light, toward the same common goals, or at least the goals that we want the society to be better, we want our communities to be better. That to me is an easier path than some of the people that I watch that choose the negative, and everything that comes out of their mouth is negative about everything, about the world. Yes, well, the world's a challenging place. I think that you could either focus on the negative or you could focus on the positive. And so if you're focusing on the light, you do things like you all do. You're out in the community, you're reaching out. It's not it's a matter of doing the right thing and helping people. I don't know. I think that it's just so important. I love that phrase, having light. We pass it on to others.
You can borrow it. You can borrow it all you want. Just remember that little school, Wittenberg. But and I should also plug that if you couldn't tell, maybe you can guess what subject I taught when I did teach in the classroom. Any guesses?
Let's see. Literature.
No, I was AP government. I was a government teacher.
Were you? You don't strike me as a government teacher.
I was a passionate civics instructor.
Civics, yes, of course. There you go. See, that's awesome. I loved those topics. You know, back in my day, we didn't have we had I think I had one AP class, so I take that back. I did take AP, but I love the fact that you're involved, that it doesn't, I drive by Bishop Moore a lot because I live near College Park. I love that you guys are super involved, but you always have been. I went to Colonial High School, and so I knew people who went to Bishop Moore. I remember us hanging out. I don't know if we played football there or not, but it's been around a long time and always been such a positive influence in the community. So I have to ask you, because I ask everyone, what have you done, just Marvin, no Bishop Moore, no work, no anything else? What have you done to stay focused, to stay positive during the lockdown?
Believe it or not, I've exercised, and it actually involves Sarah. There's been a group of us from the office. We all have these Pelotons, and we hadn't been riding them very frequently. And so when this all started, we formed our own little Peloton crew, and we've been riding 3 days a week, taking turns picking sessions, and we have a nice little text exchange between the four of us, and we love it. We absolutely love it. I look forward to it. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we're up and at it early, riding for a good 30, 40 minutes, sweating like crazy. And
God bless you.
I got to tell you, I feel better. I really do. I feel better. I feel sharper. So it's been great. And I actually appreciate the amount of time I've had with my family. Even though I'm a virtual teaching aide or teaching assistant, I have 4 children, and all in different. Well, I have an 8th grader, and then I have triplets that are in the 4th grade. So at least we only have.
You have triplets. I forgot about.
So at least we only have to do 4th grade once, but. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the time with them. And, at night we take a walk every night. We take the dogs for a walk through the neighborhood, and it's just nice. It's nice to slow down a little bit and put those things that are most important to us, family, faith, health, into focus. And so I've used it as a little bit of a wake up call for myself and those around me. And, I do look forward to the normal. If you can't tell, I'm a people person, so I love interacting with people. Maybe that's why we have.
I miss that too. I miss that, right? I mean, I'm a huggy person too, and so I missed that. And I just being in front of people with, like, even if they're at a different table than me. I experienced outdoor dining this past weekend for the first time. And wow, you're there, and I'm like, God, I just missed the noise. I know that's crazy, but you miss that noise of people laughing and enjoying themselves So yes, I agree with you. I think that's good. Peloton, that's a whole nother language for me. So God bless and do good on that, you and Sarah. So talk about a little bit, how do people get in touch with you? What if somebody's interested in looking at Bishop Moore?
Sure. So I'll answer the last question first. If you're interested in, looking at Bishop Moore, if you're looking for a school for your children, you're going to want to reach out to our admissions department. David Manchon is our director of admissions. All admissions inquiries start there. You can go to admissions@bishopmoore.org. It's the email address, and they will follow up with you. And that way, if you want to get in touch with us or Sarah, the infamous Sarah that we've been talking about in the Bishop Moore Communications Department, you can email advancement@bishopmoore.org. We'll keep it that simple. And myself or a member of our team will get back with you. We're pretty easy to check out. All of our contact information is on our website as well, bishopmoore.org. It's nice. You're letting me give a shameless plug.
Of course.
Bishop Moore, it's fantastic. But we're pretty easy. We're very responsive to get back with folks. Our campus is closed right now, as are, all the other school campuses in the area. So it's not like we have open borders, so to speak, of our campus. But if you want to reach one of us, want to again talk to our admissions director, we're very easy to get a hold of and love to have conversations with you. It's all about a conversation. And once you have that conversation, we can decide how that relationship develops. And that's what we look forward to. We look forward to, again, that human connection through the digital age, and welcome that return to, whatever our new normal is. I don't know if there is such a thing as normal. I remember back to, when 9/11 happened, and that's what most people are comparing this to. We had a heightened sense of security at our schools, and we did get back to it, though. And hopefully through this, with the advances in medicine, we'll get back to it. Educating our students, the young people of the world and of the United States, especially, it's one of the greatest things that we can do, because they're our future leaders. And so we got to get back to it, and we got to deliver for them the best curriculum, the best learning experience that we possibly can.
I agree. Well said. You were awesome. Thank you, Marvin Snyder with Bishop Moore. Thank you, Sarah Luter, for introducing us and suggesting it. I love it. I love everything that you had to say, and I do love that Bishop Moore is such an involved community partner. So big shout out to you guys. Thanks for being on the show, Marvin. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's a real pleasure. Thank you.
Such a pleasure. All right. We'll be back later, guys. Have a good one. Reach out to Marvin or Sarah and the team. You want to. All right. See you later. Bye-bye.